change. It's like my daughter's growing up, had a hamster, a little white hamster. His name was Herman. And one day Herman's hair started falling out. A lot. And my wife got concerned about it. She said, you know, I think we need to take Herman to the vet. I said, baby, Herman costs $5. Perhaps it's time we let Herman loose out in the woods. You know. Born free. And she started getting mad at me. And I said, honey, let me tell you something. When I was growing up, there was no chance we had a $5 pet that was going to see the inside of a veterinarian's office. Very few of our pets went to the veterinarian. You know what happened to our pets? They ran away. I remember one time my brother and I found this dog and we brought him home, and that dog barked all night long for the first 3 nights we had him. Then on the 4th day, while we were at school, he ran away. We had a cat that started clawing my mother's curtain. She ran away. I remember having goldfish that ran away. But my wife was like, oh no, she said, Herman is our pet, he's our responsibility, I'll take him to the vet. And she did. She took that $5 hamster to the vet. And $65 later, Herman's hair is still falling out. And I said, $65? We could have bought 13 new Hermans for $65. I said, when your medical bills are 13 times what you're worth, either you are really, really cheap or you are really, really sick. I said, let's put it this way. I said, let's say your grandmother went to the doctor and they told her it was going to take $13 million to make her well. I said, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me there's not a chance. We'd be calling the kids downstairs going, girls, sit down, we've got some bad news. Meemaw has run away. It's one of those people start to laugh at it, then they feel bad about laughing at it. Oh, I don't know why a dog can eat his own vomit, gobble up cat poop, and lick his rear end for hours and be totally fine. But if he eats half a candy bar, he dies. I don't know why cats never throw up in the daytime. Cats wait until you are lying in bed, almost asleep, and then from somewhere in your home you hear, remind me to put my slippers on in the morning. And you do want to put your slippers on, because you find that with your bare foot, you don't need coffee, because you are awake and looking for a cat. And my wife, bless her heart, she has to clean it up every time. And it's not that I haven't tried, I have. It's just every time I get near it, I make the same noises the cat makes. If you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit in the effort to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post. And the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. And you only learn that the hard way. Google won't tell you that. Fact of life, time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on, and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds. You wait too long after you pour the milk on, and the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. Google won't tell you that. Fact of life. Flying on an airplane makes you gassy. Nobody ever acknowledges this. Nobody talks about this. No, we just all take our little roll-around suitcase and walk to baggage claim, popping them off like a trail horse. Okay, when I write this, I don't know if I'm the only one doing it or not. Got a few little giveaway laughs in this crowd. Fact of life. Who is that? I'm not flying with you. Fact of life. Come on, doughboy, pedal on. I don't know why only rednecks are seeing UFOs. And here's the thing, you got to discount 90% of that stuff right off the top. Like my Uncle Jerry swore they had crop circles in their yard. And then we talked to his wife and found out she had called Goodwill and they'd come and pick up the trampoline and the boat trailer. So, hey, mystery solved, all right? But let's just say for a minute, the aliens were real and they were coming to Earth, but they didn't want people to know they were coming to Earth. It would make sense that they only revealed themselves to rednecks. Because A, we usually live out in the country, so there's not going to be a lot of witnesses. B, we have no credibility with the media. I mean, people might believe a doctor from UCLA if he saw one and said, well, they appeared to be bipods from a hydrogen and nitrogen enriched environment whose primary respiratory organ was located within their moist translucent epidermis. As opposed to Cletus in his overalls going, it looked like a giant booger with real skinny legs. It's funny, whenever I get invited to something like this, I think because I hosted Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Yeah, somebody asked me, what was your favorite part of doing that show? And I said, the part where they handed me the cards with the answers on it. That was my favorite part. But I think people think because I hosted that show that I'm smarter than I am. And I'm like, I knew none of that stuff. I'm not like Alex Trebek. We had a lady on one day, they asked her, it was like a second grade grammar question. It was something about an antonym. And she said, oh, I remember there were homonyms and synonyms and antonyms. She said, I can't remember the difference in them. Can you use it in a sentence? My antonym came over for Christmas dinner. I know nothing. I'm an idiot. In fact, when I started hosting that show, I don't know why in 2017 there's still certain jobs that are men's jobs or women's jobs. Like if there's but there are, like if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, whose job is it to go check it out? It's the man. You never see this. Phyllis, run downstairs, see what that noise was. Hey, bring me back a piece of chicken, okay? No, if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, it's the man checking it out. In his underwear, carrying a baseball bat. Because that is the official uniform of suspicious noises, underpants and a baseball bat. Don't know what we're hoping to find, some guy in the living room in his underwear with a ball. Yeah. And my dad didn't even need the baseball bat because my dad always wore those gigantic boxer shorts that were always gapped open in the front. That gap was like a taser to a thief. Shut the gap, shut the gap. Take my wallet, just shut that gap. right, here's how I know you don't want a kidney stone. About 6 months ago, I'm in the tire store getting new tires for my truck. I'm at the counter paying for them. Feel great. All of a sudden, it's like Chuck Norris kicked me in the back. I made a noise. I was like, eh! I didn't say it was a masculine noise. I said it was a noise. About 10 seconds later, it hit me again. I was like, well, Dwayne, the kid that is ringing me up at the cash register, looks at me and says, and I quote, "Hey, I ain't no doctor," which caught me off guard. I mean, it did. Well, I just assumed that he was, and he didn't like wearing his stethoscope while he was changing the tires. He goes, "I ain't no doctor, but I think you got a kidney stone because my brother had one, and that's what he acted like." And it's not that I didn't trust Dwayne's diagnosis, but I got to thinking, you know, Jeff, you have a little money. Why not get a second opinion? So I have a buddy that's a urologist, and I called him. I said, "Dude, I think I might have a kidney stone." He said, "Well, come in, we'll take an x-ray." So they go in and take the x-ray, and he comes out, and he thinks he's a comedian. He's like, "Well, I got good news and bad news." He said, "The good news is you don't have a kidney stone. Bad news is you have 5 of them, and one of them is huge." Well, he then proceeds to give me an anatomy lesson. He said the stones form in the kidneys. He said they don't hurt when they're there. He said, but from the kidneys, they pass through a tiny tube called the ureter down to the bladder. And he said a big stone can be 5 or 6 times wider than the ureter. And the word stone, they need to rename it. It's misleading, because when you hear stone, you think smooth river rock, gently tumbling. A kidney stone looks nothing like that. A kidney stone looks like a ninja Death Star. It's got spikes and claws and blades and hooks, so it's not sliding anywhere. It is cutting through nerves and muscles and blood vessels. And he said passing a big one was the equivalent of trying to get a porcupine to walk backwards through a garden hose. So you could see where there might be some discomfort. And I really thought I knew what pain was before this. I remember when I was about 20, I'm spending the night at a buddy's house, and I got up in the middle of the night to go get a glass of water, and I didn't turn the light on, and I hit my little toe on their coffee table. I broke it 90 degrees sideways, knocked the nail completely off. I laid in the floor and said the F word 148 times in a row. Next to a kidney stone, that made that seem like a bubble bath with Jennifer Aniston. See, and the thing only hurts when it moves. You just never knew when it was going to move. I mean, you'd feel great. You'd be talking to people. People are like, "Jeff, what are you working on?" I'm like, "Well, I was just out in L.A. filming some more of the American Bible Challenge." "Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Hold my hand. Help me, Jesus." They're like, "Boy, he takes that show seriously, doesn't he?" But the pain was nuts. I read online doctors that say it's the equivalent of a woman giving birth with no meds. Any women here given birth and had a kidney stone? And both. You've had both. Which one was worse? Giving birth. What about you? Giving birth. Here's my argument as defense attorney for the kidney stone. A year or two after having a baby, a woman will say, "You know what? I'm about ready to have another child." You never hear a man say, "Well, I've about quit puking and crying. I think I'll drink a case of Coca-Cola and see if I can't work up another kidney stone." And when my doctor saw the big one, he immediately started writing me a prescription for Percocet. And I hardly ever take aspirin. I'm like, "Dude, you're wasting your time. I am not taking Percocet." Oh, you skinny mustache, bow-legged boy. When that thing started moving, I was eating Percocet like they were peanut M&Ms. I went from being Dr. Oz to Keith Richards in 3 seconds. And one night the pain was so bad, I'm telling you, I told my wife, I said, "You got to take me to the hospital. The Percocet's not making a dent in this." So she drops me off there at the emergency room, and she goes to park the car, and I walk in, and I walk up to the desk, and the nurse said, "So what's wrong with you?" And I said, "I have a kidney stone." And she kind of laughed. She goes, "Well, you're going to be waiting a long time tonight, hon." I said, "No, ma'am, you don't understand." I said, "I am in the worst pain of my life." She said, "Well, you just feel like you're going to die, but you're not." And I said, "Boy, you don't have a lot of sympathy, do you?" She said, "Oh, you're looking for sympathy. Baby, that is in the dictionary between shit and syphilis." She said that. I looked it up later. She's right. I mean, it is. But she just hands me the clipboard to fill out. So I go in the waiting room. I sit down next to a guy that's got a knife in his head. He's got a knife sticking in his head. I'm like, oh my God, were you in a fight? He said, no, I have a kidney stone. I did this to myself trying to get to the back there. And sometimes when it would move, it would land in such a way it would block the urine stream, and then that ureter would balloon out, and it was the weirdest feeling because you felt like you were going to wet your pants, but then when you went, holy cow, did it hurt. So half your brain's like, you better go to the bathroom, you're going to embarrass yourself, you're going to wet your pants. And the other half's like, don't do it, it's going to hurt. And the kidney stone was like that Somali pirate in the movie Captain Phillips going, look at me, I am the captain of the ship now. I make the rules. And they had you pee through a strainer. Did they make you pee through a strainer? Because they want to find out what the stone's made of so they can take that out of your diet. So I felt like, you know, at Christmas when you watch the old Rudolph thing, the prospector, Yukon Cornelius. That's what I felt like. Nothing. So y'all, this went on for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, every day I was in this pain. And you know, the thing would lodge and it'd block the urine, and then it would move and it would hurt. And then all of a sudden I hit about 4 days where I felt great. And I thought, well, did I miss it in the strainer? Or maybe I passed it. And so I went back to the doctor and they took another x-ray. Well, the thing had lodged right in a bend in the ureter next to the bladder. But because it was lodged, it wasn't moving, so it didn't hurt. And it wasn't blocking the urine stream. And I'm like, hey, let's leave it there till the Lord comes back. But the doctor's looking at the x-ray, goes, I don't like where that thing is at. He said, I'm going to give you about a week to pass it, and if you don't, we're going to have to go get it. I have a question. When you say go get it, what kind of trip are we talking about there? He said, well, we've got this flexible metal cord that has a retractable claw at the end of it. He said, we'll run that cord up the exit-only ramp through the bladder. He said, we'll grab that stone and we will drag it out kicking and screaming. He said, once we get it out, we'll put a stent in that claw, go right back in a second time, and insert that stent into the walls of the ureter, which by now, quite honestly, have lost the will to live. He said, we'll leave it in there for 3 or 4 days. We'll go back in a third time, grab that stent, and yank it out. And I am thinking, since they outlawed waterboarding, this has got to be what they are doing to get terrorists to talk. So where's bin Laden? I do not know. All right, well, we're going to get that little metal cord with a claw and see if we can't find a kidney stone. Oh, you sons of the beaches. He is living in Pakistan in a White House on the corner. The gate code is yeah. You will find him upstairs, last bedroom on the left. I'm telling the idea of 3 trips with the claw scared the willy out of me. I'm like, I'll do anything to avoid this. So I read online, they said cranberry juice might help you pass one. I'm guzzling it. I am jumping on the trampoline. I am doing anything to get rid of this stone and avoid the claw. And it must have worked, because a couple of nights later, my wife and I were watching TV. I got up at one point to go to the restroom, and right in the middle of it, I had just real quick, sharp pain. You know, it was like, ugh! Y'all, I looked down, and there is this black, spiky, little pea-sized marble rolling down the inside of the toilet towards the hole. And my mother always says, Jeff, you don't have to tell everything. And I'm like, Mom, there's good money in it, trust me, all right? That being said, I'm not proud of this, but when I saw the thing about to go down the hole, I panicked. And so I turned, and when I turned, I peed all over the wall in the bathroom, including a brand new roll of toilet paper. I stuck my arm in that warm toilet water. I grabbed that thing and I pulled it out. I zipped my pants up. I marched down the hall into the living room. I went to the mantle. I took down my People's Choice Award and I put it right up there in the track lighting. If you come by the house tomorrow, we'll all take a look at it. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for listening to me. You're terrific. And I am so thankful you showed up tonight, because we need you. We do what we call the thing the We've Been Thinking tour, because as we think about stuff, we either have to get a psychiatrist or we need you to help us work through it, all right? First example, this one's pretty recent. Last Thursday, my brother lives next door to me. His oldest daughter is in medical school. She's in her third year of med school, so in your third year, you have to do everything. And then your fourth year, you kind of specialize. So my brother told me last Thursday she called home to let him know that that day had been prostate check day. It gets better. There are 60 people in her class. They all check the same guy. That's why I need your help. This guy is rolled in a ball right here. And the guy told him, he said he had been doing this for 40 years, and that over the last 40 years, he had had his prostate checked thousands and thousands of times. I'm thinking, you're not doing this for the money, are you? And here's the deal, I don't feel bad for him. He signed up for it. You know who I feel bad for? His mother. And I tell you why, because every week this woman has to go out to lunch with her friends, and her friends are like, well, Inez, what is Billy doing now? Well, he is working all the time, but he said it is wearing his ass out. And here's the other thing I got to thinking about. You know, when they check it, and when, maybe the women don't know this, but they got the glove on, and then they put that jelly. 60 applications of jelly. There is no way this guy can drive home from this event. He can't stay on the seat, you know? It's like... And he can't walk home because if he farts, he'll have a trail of bubbles behind him and little kids chasing him, trying to pop him. These are the kind of things we think about.
Right. I think they probably pretty pissed off at me about right now. I'm bad for business, I guess. I'm the only guy ever gone from Nutrisystem commercials to heartburn medication right here on tape. Man, I'm 5 pounds away from a sleep apnea contract up here. What the hell? No, look, Nutrisystem worked for me. I just didn't do it right. I didn't know you weren't supposed to eat the packaging. All right, that's my problem. Oh, proud to say OTC. God love them. They ain't the first, you know, the first people ever wanted me to do a commercial was 2003, Blue Collar TV. You know how they promote alternative fuels to be used? In 2003, they wanted me to test drive a truck, a pretty good-looking truck that run on human waste. That's true. I drove it for 3 days. What a piece of crap. 3 days, no pun intended. I go through the Taco Bell drive-thru in that deal, flooded the engine when I went through that deal. You believe that? It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. A buddy of mine had to come down there to drive-thru, give me a jump fart when I was down there to drive-thru. If you can find another comedian in the country with a punchline of jump fart, I will kiss your hind end right now in front of everybody, because you're never going to find that.
A wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit trying to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post, and the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. You only learn that the hard way. No more reality TV shows. Seriously. If I want to watch the day-to-day life of unattractive, uneducated people, I will hang out with my own family. Thank you very much. No more breast reduction surgeries. I mean, why should I be penalized just because your back hurts? Come on. Take an Advil, for crying out loud. No more commercials where some law group is trying to get somebody to sue somebody else. We are the most sue-happy nation on earth, which is why our car insurance is so expensive, which is why our medical insurance is so expensive, all the lawsuits. And it started with cars. Have you been in a car accident? Do you know someone that's been in a car accident? Have you ever heard about a car accident? Now it's everything. Has a woman with a vaginal mesh implant given you the prescription drug fen-phen, which caused you to develop mesothelioma? If so, you could be owed billions. I just remember that happened to me last summer. Yes, sir. Captain Crunch is the most time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on, and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds. You wait too long after you pour the milk on, and the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. See, when it comes to technology, my wife and I laugh about this because we're in our mid-50s, and my wife says we are the bologna in the technology bologna sandwich. We're right in the middle because our parents can't text and our children can't write. My kids don't even think you need to study. They're like, Dad, if you want to know something, you just Google it. And to a point, they're right. I mean, when I was growing up, if you were watching TV and somebody said, what was that guy in? You'd go, well, he looks familiar. That was it. Now you're watching TV, somebody goes, what was that guy in? Somebody goes, he was the janitor on Joey. Of course he was. But I try to tell my kids, I said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can learn from Google. I said, but there's just as much stuff you can't learn from Google. You only learn it from life experience. You'll usually learn most of it the hard way. It's stuff that's not Googleable. So, I mean, it's like going to the drive-in movie by yourself. You can do it, but it ain't ending in a smile. You're an adult. If you want a cookie, eat a cookie. If you want sugar-free, eat celery. Quit wasting valuable cookie dough on sugar-free cookies. Nobody likes them. Now, you hear this a lot in an election year. Like, if you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit trying to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post. And the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. You only learn that the hard way. Fact of life, if you're driving down the interstate and you come up behind that old pickup truck that has like 13 wooden pallets stacked in the back and they're held together by like 2 ratty bungee cords, we all say the same prayer. Dear God, do not let those bungee cords break. Fact of life, when your kids go off to college, you need to be concerned about the excessive drinking, the wild sex, the sleeping till noon, and you need to worry your kids might be doing the same thing. Fact of life, 100% of the black men that shave their heads look really cool. 50% of the white guys that shave their heads look like they just murdered their parents. Fact of life, you can have a wife with long, beautiful hair, or you can be on time. Fact of life, if a cable or satellite company promises you something for free, in 6 months, you are going to get a bill that looks like Ron White's bar tab. No more parents at Little League games. We've tried it, it doesn't work. Children's recreational sports were started for kids to have fun. It is the grown-ups that took the fun out of it. Seriously, parents, no more serious. Parents, no more yelling at the coaches. The coaches are not the reason your child is not going to play professional sports. Your genetics are the reason your child is not going to play professional sports. And no more trophies for everybody. No more not keeping score. Seriously, no matter how badly you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, the truth in life is there are winners and there are losers. And if you don't believe me, let's get in my car and go to Walmart after midnight. Walmart after midnight makes The Walking Dead look like America's Next Top Model. Fact of life, if you wake yourself up with a snore, the first thing you do is look around to see who's laughing at you. Fact of life, when your wife or girlfriend gets tipsy, there is a very fine line between her talking dirty to you and sleeping like a hibernating bear. And by fine line, I mean about half a sip. You wait till we get home tonight, mister. I'm gonna tear you up. And once she crosses the line, you ain't getting her back. It's like the paramedics putting the paddle on a body with no head. You're wasting your time. Baby, wake up for like 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Now, here's the other thing about crossing 50. When I was a kid, I used to think anybody that was 50 or older had... What the heck? I feel like I'm in Aerosmith or something. I'm a comedian, for God's sake. Is the house on fire? But I thought anybody that had crossed 50, they were like a fountain of knowledge that you could go and drink from. And then I got to be 50 and I went, well, that's not the case. Because like, oh no, are you smarter than a fifth grader? Like when I started doing that, people thought I was smart. And I'm like, y'all, if they didn't give me the blue cards, that's the shortest show in the history of television. First question, do you know the answer? No, neither do I. Good night, everybody. We had a lady on, it was like a third grade grammar question. It was something about an antonym. And she said, oh, I remember there were homonyms and synonyms and antonyms. She said, I can't remember the difference in them. Can you use it in a sentence? My Aunt Nim came over for Christmas dinner. But I started thinking about all the stuff that I didn't know, and it's a lot longer list than the stuff I do know. But it's stuff I thought I would know by now. I mean, I don't know how they know how long to make the cord for the first bungee jump at a new place. All right, Ed, let him jump! All right, Ed, shorten it up a little bit. Give his girlfriend a free t-shirt. I don't know why the dentist makes you lie to him. Every time I go to the dentist, he'll be looking at my mouth. He's like, oh, you have not been flossing every day, have you? No, not every day. Oh, let me think. The last time I flossed, you did it. I don't know who closes the door when the bus driver gets off. Don't think about that one too long. You get a headache, I promise. I don't know how women can lie down on the couch and take a nap without sticking their hand in the front of their pants. How do y'all do that? See, men have a sleep button located right there. Take our hand, put it on that button. I don't know why the people with the worst breath always stand the closest to you when they talk. They're like, guess what? Oh, I don't know, you got a dirty diaper in your mouth? Can I tell you something? All right, but do it quick. I can only hold my breath for 30 seconds. And you always try to offer them like a piece of gum or a mint. They never take it. They're like, oh, no thanks. I don't like the way those taste. Yeah, I can see where you wouldn't prefer peppermint to that cat turd you're chewing on right now. Wow. I don't know why the bank leaves the vault door wide open, but change the 25-cent ink pen to the counter. And why does the drive-up banking window have directions written in Braille? And they do. Check it out the next time you're there. I don't know why I can't call the computer helpline and talk to somebody on this side of the planet. Every time I call the computer helpline, I get, hello, this is Kevin. What is the problem you are currently experiencing? I'm sorry, what was your name? It is Kevin. Kevin. Wow, because if I had to guess, I would have bet your name had 2 less vowels than Kevin. What is the problem you're currently experiencing? Well, before I called you, it was that my computer was locked up, but now it's trying to understand a damn thing you're saying. And they won't tell you where they are. I'm like, where are you? I'm at my desk. Okay, but where is your desk? It's in my office. Okay, Kevin, let me put it this way. If your friend came over to hang out with you tonight and he showed up driving an elephant, would that be weird? See, we don't drive elephants here. I don't know why a new razor costs $6, but a pack of 8 replacement blades cost $2,000. Why are razor blades so expensive? You could put a kid through college by growing a beard. I think they're so expensive, they've gotten complicated. You know, when I was a kid, it was 1 blade. You used it for a week, threw it away, got another. Now it's 5 blades. And the advertising agencies have convinced us every one of those blades has its own job. Blade number 1 walks up to the whisker and pretends to recognize it from high school. Blade number 2 runs behind it and thumps it over the head with a beer bottle. Blade number 3 ties its hands together with duct tape, while blade number 4 warns the other whiskers to stay out of it or they're next. You know what I think's going on? I think it's just like those road crews. I think there is 1 blade doing all the work and there's 4 just standing around watching. You can't ride a bicycle anymore without dressing like Lance Armstrong in the Tour de France. Anybody remember when you could ride a bicycle wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt? You can't do it now. Gotta have the uni. And it's not just young athletic people, like fat and middle-aged guys look like the Michelin Man in a wetsuit. And he's got sponsor logos. Like, who's sponsoring you, Pop? Dunkin' Donuts, all right. Pedal on, doughboy, pedal on. I don't know why only rednecks are seeing UFOs. And here's the deal. You got to discount 90% of that stuff right off the top, because my Uncle Jerry swore they had crop circles in their yard. Then we found out that his wife had called Goodwill and they had come and got the trampoline and the boat trailer. So, you know, mystery solved. But let's say there really were aliens and they really are coming to Earth and they didn't want people to know that they were coming to Earth. It makes sense they would only reveal themselves to rednecks. A, we usually live out in the country, so there's not going to be a lot of witnesses. B, we have no credibility with the media. See, people might believe a scientist from UCLA if he saw one and said, well, they appeared to be bipods from a hydrogen and nitrogen-based environment whose primary respiratory organ was located within their moist, translucent epidermis. As opposed to Cletus in his overalls going, it looked like a giant booger with real skinny legs. I don't know why after 27 years of marriage, my wife continues to ask me, what do you want for your birthday? What do I always want for my birthday? Same thing every man on the planet wants for his birthday. The same thing every woman on the planet doesn't want for her birthday. Never once has my wife said, you know what, forget the flowers, forget the presents, why don't you just lock the door and take me to Squeal Town? But it's all any man wants. You can be visiting your grandpa in the nursing home, be like, happy birthday, Papa. Is today my birthday? It sure is. Well, help me get my pants off. I don't know why a dog can eat its own vomit, gobble up cat poop, and lick its rear end for hours and be totally fine, but if he eats half a candy bar, he dies. They need to renegotiate that one. I don't know why in this age of sexual equality, there are still some jobs that are the man's job or the woman's job. Like if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, whose job is it to check that out? Man. Yeah. Never see this. Phyllis. Phyllis. Run downstairs, see what that noise was. Hey, bring me back a piece of chicken, okay? Now, if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, it's the man checking it out. In his underwear, carrying a baseball bat. Because that is the official uniform of suspicious noises, underpants and a baseball. I don't know what we're hoping to find, some guy in the living room in his underwear with a ball. And my dad didn't even need the baseball bat because my dad wore those giant boxer shorts that were always gapped open in the front. Oh, that gap would be like a taser to a thief. Shut the gap! Shut the gap! Here, take my wallet. Just shut that gap! What's every man in here want for his birthday? The same thing every woman in here doesn't want for her birthday. Never one time has my wife said, you know what, this year, forget the flowers, forget the presents. Why don't you just lock that door and take me to Squeal Town? But it's what every guy wants. You could be visiting your 90-year-old grandpa in the nursing home and be like, happy birthday, Papa. Is today my birthday? It sure is. Well, help me get my pants off. Know why a dog can eat his own vomit, gobble up cat poop, and lick his rear end for hours and be totally fine. But if he eats half a candy bar, he dies. I don't know why in 2023 we still have jobs that we will call men's jobs or women's jobs. Like if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, whose job is it to go check out the noise? It's the man. Let's be honest. Yeah, you never see this. Phyllis. Phyllis. Run downstairs, see what that noise was. Hey, bring me back a piece of chicken, okay? Now, if there's a noise in the house in the middle of the night, it is the man checking it out. In his underwear, carrying a baseball bat. Because that is the official uniform of suspicious noises, underpants and a baseball bat. I don't know what we're hoping to find, some guy in the living room in his underwear with a ball. And my dad didn't even need the baseball bat, because my dad wore those gigantic boxer shorts that were always gapped open in the front. That gap was like a taser to a thief. Shut the gap, shut the gap. Here, take my wallet, just shut that gap. I don't know why every time I get great tickets to a concert, I always end up being seated next to somebody that has to sing every song at the top of their lungs. So several years ago, Simon and Garfunkel came to Atlanta. My wife wanted to go. She had a couple of friends that wanted to go. Well, my mother-in-law wanted to go. Quick backstory on my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has hearing aids that she refuses to wear because she thinks they don't look good. But because she doesn't wear them, she can't hear a lick. She talks louder than anybody on the planet. One night around Christmas time, we go to the movies. We're standing in the long line at the concession stand. My mother-in-law walks over to me and goes, "Don't look now, but the man behind us is cross-eyed as a bat." Which is bad for two reasons. One, you're embarrassed to death. And two, when somebody says something like that, yes, you've got to look, you know. Then I'm like, turn around, the guy's glaring at me. Well, he may not have been glaring at me, but he was glaring at somebody. So we go to Simon and Garfunkel. Somehow I end up being seated next to my mother-in-law. She doesn't have the hearing aids in. She sang every Simon and Garfunkel song, and she knew the words to none of them. Like a witch over Bubbles' daughter. Or you can, I will grease your pine. Grease your pine? That's what you got out of that?